Hey everybody, what's up? We're doing a special edition of the Miami Comedy Podcast with some good friends and Seabass. We also have Respect the Light here with us. We have Greg, Rochelle, and GJ, as well as Rudy Wilson, the brand new host and MC of the From Atlanta to Miami comedy show at the Miami Improv, July 4th. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. What's up?
So we just had an amazing meeting about the Respect the Light documentary and the future of it. You guys want to give us a quick breakdown on what you guys got brewing?
So we just wrapped up the rough cuts of all 5 of the episodes, thanks to DJ and Greg. So all of the episodes have been edited and are basically ready. See, that's what the
Danny trying to floss right quick because he think because he running shit.
And it doesn't even work. It doesn't even have it connected. He's still using the microphone on his laptop.
Yo, I ain't even got this bit connected. This is a prop.
Yeah, that mic's the shit. The Yeti mic, they do a great job.
Anyway, so yeah, we just finished the rough cuts for all 5 of the episodes, so they're ready for polishing. And then this week we'll get into looking to the next phase, which is editing a new trailer for people to see and get excited about. And people will hopefully be hearing from, well, not hopefully, they will be hearing from us soon about when they can expect the premiere of our first episode.
So you guys just finished recording all 5 episodes, well, editing all 5 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, we still have to go back and do some polish edits to tighten everything up, but the story's been
still a lot of work to do.
And give us a bit of the journey. Like you guys filmed last year. What month was it last year that you guys?
July.
It was in July. Okay, so close to a year. Now is when the episodes are being finalized. What did you guys have to go through? What challenges did you face? And how did you overcome them?
Greg.
It's been, doing this doc has been a huge lesson in collaboration and storytelling. Before we started editing it, first of all, I felt like we weren't, for a while, weren't going anywhere fast because we didn't quite know what it was for a while. We kept editing and coming at it like it was going to be a 30 to 40 minute, whole documentary or something like that, which lends itself to a very different, editing style. There's not a beginning and end to every segment in terms of the bars, you know what I mean? Red Bar, Sweet Carolines. So I don't know. So structurally, we were trying to figure it out, and also just figuring out our workflow too with Gigi and I. That was a big lesson for me personally, and I'm assuming for Gigi too. But I've always seen editing as a very singular thing, and it's always been a very singular thing to me. But it's crazy, once Gigi and I, worked out a workflow where we just spitball ideas back and forth and edit together, we were able to get rough cuts done within 3 days sometimes. It was crazy. And it was just unfiltered collaboration. Usually when you're editing by yourself and you're focusing and in your head, it's you don't know if an idea works until you put it together and you show it to somebody, but with Gigi being there, and us kind of going back and forth, we could review something, and then instantly we would both be that ain't working. We need to rework that, and just build on it that way. So it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of insane how fast we were able to actually get the rough cuts done once we actually had a workflow that we finally felt good about. Hopefully that answered your question.
Well, you guys recorded 5 episodes. There's a mini documentary series, right?
Yeah.
And all right, so give us a brief summary so that the people know what each episode entails. What did you capture?
Do you want to take that? Or?
Yeah, sure. So 5 episodes, and the 5 episodes are all titled after the venue that the comedy show in that episode takes place at. And they don't necessarily happen in the order of the shows that they went down. We kind of took some creative liberties to help tell the story in a way that we felt was more effective. So episode 1 is Red Bar, and in that episode we introduced the audience to all 3 characters, so Manny, Rudy, and Sebastian. And then in episode 2, from episode 2 through episode 4, we focus and tell the story from one of those characters' perspective. So episode 2 is told from Manny's perspective, and that takes us to Drink House Fire and Ice in South Beach, and a little bit through Manny's workday leading up to that event. Episode 3 covers Rudy, and we get into some detail about Rudy's life being a brand new person in Miami and what it's like to be brand new in Miami. And then that takes us from Drink House Fire and Ice, which we would have seen in the previous episode, into Renee's in Wynwood, which apparently was like a one-off comedy show. They might still host comedy shows, but that comedy show that we recorded in that instance never happened again. Episode 4 covers Sebastian, and that takes us to Sweet Caroline. We see a little bit of him and his mom, and that episode revolves a lot around the theme of family. And then episode 5, we swing back and cover all 3 of you guys and really just give you an opportunity to do your thing. We had spent all of each of the previous episodes kind of giving a lot of exposition and letting the audience get to know you and having you guys explain who you are and what you do and what you care about and why you do what you do. And in episode 5, we really wanted to just give the audience some time to just see y'all work. And that takes place at Craftsman, which apparently is no longer a thing in Miami, but that was a really, all the venues were gorgeous. One less so than the rest, but all of them, like really distinctive.
I'm sorry, I'm smiling because Rudy over here looks like he's drunk.
I'm just listening.
If no one's getting roasted, you lose Rudy's attention.
But no, it's been really fascinating because we've discovered themes within themes within themes, basically. Like, and what I mean by that is we have your long form interviews where we kind of like discovered what each of your themes were, and then once we got into each episode, and like we realized each episode kind of honed in on like a specific theme for what it's like to do comedy in Miami. Like, again, I said this earlier, but Manny, it's about hosting a show, managing a show. It touches on having a comedian that, and Sebastian says this in the Red Bar episode, but you can have that one comedian who kind of fucks the rest of the rhythm of the show up, like, and being a host and dealing with that. And then the third episode gets into Rudy performing, and that became a really interesting episode to chisel away at, because for a while I was worried about that one because I wasn't sure what it was going to be about, and it wound up becoming, I don't know if racially charged is the way to put it, but it touches on race and just performing for different races and different perspectives, and like how one joke plays in a venue and how that joke plays in another venue, and that was really fascinating to explore.
And certain things actually in that episode, I'm sorry to cut you off, Greg, but certain things in that episode just jumped. Like, we didn't go into that episode with an agenda, like Rudy Black, so we're going to tell a racially charged
story. At all. Like, it really just, and that was, honestly, that was like every episode kind of unfolded that way. And like that happened with Renee's too. And it would be little things too. It would be like a little thing that one person went up there on stage and said, and we were like, wow, that's so strange. And he would say something like that in the episode that we're talking about. Like, I mean, if I can give you an example that we wound up using, like as soon as I heard it in the audio, I was like, that's so weird that he would just use that example. But I don't remember what his name was, but he went on stage at Renee's and he says something to the effect of, men are slaves to women, like blacks were slaves to whites. And I was just like, what a fucking like strange comment to make. But it was also like catering to the predominantly white audience that was at Renee's that night. So it was just so strange, and it all lended itself to this theme of like race and like we saw certain jokes that Rudy performed at Fire and Ice that was I guess it wasn't predominantly black. There was it was a pretty mixed audience.
It was a mixed group.
But
there were way more black folks at that show than there were at
Renee's. Yeah, and certain jokes I think played better there than they did at Renee's or whatever, and we kind of just explored that in episode 3. And then episode 4, like it was important to episode 4 is unique because it's the only time where we come back to an on-the-fly interview that we did with Sebastian earlier, because what we talked about with Sebastian became so relevant to how his set and his energy was that night. Like, we basically, that during that day, we got into Sebastian and his father and talked about the influence that he had on Sebastian. And by the time we got to Sweet Caroline's, he says it in the interview, like, there wasn't a ton of headspace to like be funny that night. It was something like that, and it was just interesting to also just explore that. And it hits a very like an emotional peak in episode 4 that like everybody's really responding to. So it just kind of touches on that, like where your headspace is when you get into a comedy set, and how that energy lends itself to how your set goes, and etc. And then episode 5, like Jeeves said, like we just, for that episode, I always felt pretty confident about that episode because I was like, this is the episode where we just get to let the audience breathe. Like we just get to let the audience, like they know these characters, they know these venues, they know how Miami comedy works. Like let's just have the audience feel like they're an audience member at the show and just let it breathe.
Yeah.
So, and it wound up becoming our favorite episode. It's just so fun to watch.
It stings, man. It's a lot of fun seeing you guys do your thing. We get into like a little bit of cross cutting, and it's really.
And the last thing I wanted to say when I was saying theme upon theme upon theme, on top of that, your sets, like we wound up cutting your sets to themes. Like again, Rudy's set comes back to, you bring race comes up a lot in that set, like the Kia Optima joke, and there's like Rudy even comes on stage and he's like, oh, you mean like by special guest, you mean like I'm last or whatever, like that, like the black comedian is last, like that kind of shit. We touch on that.
The special.
And, Sebastian, Sebastian's theme is the financially aware bit, like talking about like the financial circumstances and saving money and like stuff like that. And that wound up coming back to family too, and the Craftsman set too. And then Manny, his theme came back to like vacation. Like you talk about in one of your sets, you talk about like getting like a souvenir from a vacation, and it's like this reminder of like the vacation that you didn't fucking have. You know what I mean? Like just in general talking about like getting back to the theme of like you run the Miami.
according to Rudy, that's my only bit.
I will say, the thing that happens to you repeatedly though.
Oh my
is
god.
Oh yeah.
That women like kind of throw themselves at you,
Dude.
But hate me for it.
But like they all have men, and they're like,
Oh yeah, that happened. It's so weird that happened more than once. That they're like,
Yeah.
I'm down, and then you're like, oh, but you have a boyfriend. Like, why are you like? What?
Right.
you're like romance is dead. Fuck y'all hoes.
It's Sweet Caroline specifically. You go, are we fucking or not? Like it's just like the person. It's great.
Yeah. So there's one thing that I wanted to add on, which is this overarching thing that happens that is just a part of the story, like woven into all of it, is all of you guys' relationship with Miami, which is like so dope, and I'm so glad that we chose you three, because the three of you all have like really unique perspectives on like Miami. Like Manny's kind of like cynical about it because you had that time in South Beach, and you know what I'm saying, like you've experienced some of the like darker elements of like that nightlife.
Sebastian is diet Mr.
Sebastian is like Miami ass, like I rep my city hard as fuck. Like
fucking
that's
great value, Mr. 305.
Miami's like family to him, and you're like mad passionate and like protective of your city. And then Rudy, when we first interviewed him, was new to Miami, so Miami was like this new place to him, and he was like open to like the possibilities and like what the city. Yeah, so. That was like a really cool thing that we got to explore.
And it was extremely important to us that with Respect the Light, you know, we still maintain that we would like to see Respect the Light move into another city. But we didn't want to just profile three comics. We also wanted to profile the scene and the energy and the feel of the city.
Yeah.
And we were able to do that by kind of taking all three of your temperatures on what your take on Miami was.
So in the future, you guys are planning on, since you guys have the eye of capturing something a little more deeper than just the surface jokes of scenes, and since you've seen something as small as Miami, you're now willing to go to bigger cities with bigger scenes and go in the underbelly of those?
Yes. I don't want to say definitively that it's something that we're planning on doing. Our energy is devoted to completing Respect the Light and getting it to as wide an audience as possible. However, this story and our approach to telling this story is unique in that it's transferable. I mean, I don't know that all the venues in other cities will look as good as the ones in Miami do, but what I can say with some confidence is that this idea, this concept can go anywhere and cover any comics. I think Miami being like a relatively small comedy scene, it would be great to do it in a comedy scene that's way more packed with way more comics, like LA or New York.
Yeah.
Because it's a different story that way.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, something that keeps going through my mind when we talk about bigger cities, like some of what is so appealing about doing Miami is that the comedy scene is still growing and still building. And like New York and LA, like they're places that we've seen before, and they're like pretty big in terms of show business and whatnot. So like, I don't know, like it's crossed my mind too, like at least to do a season maybe in a smaller town where they're trying to build a comedy scene there too, and
Yeah.
tell the stories that really don't usually get told, that kind of thing. I don't know, but we don't know. We're so, like Chief said, we're so focused on getting this story right until we like even think about developing something else.
And we're so close, Manny. Like, I can't stress enough how proud we are of where this is and what it feels like. We got to the last episode, and one of the things that I was really, I don't know whether or not Greg said it, but from the time we got into episode 3, I was worried about episode 5. I was like, have we said everything that we need to say in the first 4 episodes? And it just turned out that it wasn't the case. And once we finally finished up on episode 5, it occurred to me that there were some big and powerful things that we hadn't said yet that we needed to say in episode 5, that we needed the space to say.
Yeah.
And once we said them, then it was like, there's nothing else to say. Like, we've exhausted all of the material.
Definitely exhausted the material.
So it was perfectly fit into 5 episodes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We
Perfect.
couldn't add another
Awesome.
episode if we wanted to. If we did, it would be boring and shitty.
So you guys already submitted to a few festivals. Just for Laughs Pro, the Orlando Film Fest, the Short Miami Film Festival. Any plans to release the episodes on another festival?
So there are a couple more. We have like a list of possible festivals. I don't have them off the top of my head. There are a lot of the other ones, like the 3 that we've submitted to, we're excited about because those are close. Those are very close to what we did. So the Just for Laughs is a comedy festival, so we think it'd be perfect for that. Miami Short Film Festival obviously is the place where the story took place. And then Orlando's not that far from Miami, so a lot of people could probably still relate to it. The other festivals that we have in mind are all in different places, so we just want to be strategic about the ones that we apply to, because like there's fees involved and travel involved and all sorts of things. So we want to make sure that we pick the best suited ones for our story, so we have a good shot. But we feel really good about our chances about the 3 that we've submitted to so far.
And where can they find you guys? You guys just released Patreon to help you get to the cities that you guys submitted to. Where can they find this information?
Yes, so the Ledge Media officially has a Patreon as a platform for people to support us with literally any dollar amounts that you can contribute to us is helpful, because as I just said, there's a lot of different expenses involved. Submitting to festivals has fees, and then you have to travel to them. And then, of course, there's like the time that we have to take away from doing other work to continue to like get this project out there, and the expenses for like continuing other projects as well, since we're like a full, production company. But yeah, so the episodes will be released on Patreon exclusively. People will just have to pay like $5 a month to basically support us. We don't want people to think of it as they're just like paying for episodes. Like, we want to form like a little community with our audience, and we'll share a lot of behind the scenes stuff with them, keep them posted on every step of our like journey through these film festivals and all the other parts of things that we're working on. So that's how we've chosen to get it out for now. And we will be announcing to people in the near future when they can look forward to seeing.
So what's the preferred website to find the information on the Patreon?
So you just go to patreon.com/theledgemedia and you'll see our page there.
All right. I guess that'll do it. Greg?
Actually, no, I'm sorry. Can I ask you guys a question?
Shoot.
Is there anything that you are hoping out of the project? Like, what are you hoping to see? Because like it's about y'all. Like, what do you want?
For me, it would be great to be on a distribution channel. The popular ones. Maybe a nice little Netflix release, something on Hulu or Amazon Prime, and at the end, just say, Manny's the mastermind of it all, and then like a portrait of me in black and white zooming in, and then it just fades to black, and then
Manny wants to be a villain, bro. That's the end of like a fucking Phineas and Ferb episode with Doofenshmirtz fading out.
What about you, Seabass? Is there anything that you're like, not just where it goes, but like the
In
story?
Yeah.
Seabass wants to get 10 minutes.
Let me become a 6-minute comic. According to Manny, I'm only a 5-minute comic, so I'm pushing for that extra minute. Nah, I think just looking forward to having like a lot of, I guess, views and things I've always said, like have it documented, to where I can be like, you see, I did say that shit. Like I've always felt like that, you know, and just kind of have that on film is very, very dope, you know. So I'm looking forward to that.
Right. And what about you, Rudy?
I can't say that I have expectation as far as what I would like to see, like outside of what you guys have. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just curious just to see it, because I mean, especially for myself. I mean, I was, you know, and this isn't in a bad way, but I mean, I was, you know, so caught off guard about it. You know, so to me, I just kind of just was going with the flow because it felt right. You know what I'm saying? Y'all was cool or whatever, but I mean, you know, I had shit going on to myself. I was halfway homeless and shit. You know what I'm saying? So when it all happened, it just was happening. You know what I'm saying? But I'm the type of person that I go with the flow, especially if things feel right. So for me, you know, I'm just curious just to see where it goes. I mean, I feel like, you know, whatever happens, you know, it's gonna happen. It was meant to happen, and whether it's on the front end or the back end, I definitely feel like it's gonna be a big deal. And I say front end or back end, meaning like whether, you know, this documentary blows us up or we blow up the documentary, I think either way is going to be cool, because it shows a very authentic and genuine place that I don't know about these two, but I was definitely ashamed of. I hate looking at, honestly, because it's, you know, and I'm not even talking about where I was at in life as far as personal. I'm talking about even my on stage, everything, jokes I was telling back then, like, you know, it's embarrassing. But you know, it'll be genuine, and people will, you know, they'll see where we're at now and see then, and they'll know that, you know, this wasn't scripted. We didn't know that however it planned out was going to happen. Like we genuinely all believed in something and just took it step by step and, you know, moved forward. So I think it's going to be dope.
That's the story for sure, man. And so I do. This is actually going to be instructive. I'm sorry to take over your show, Manny, but
it's all good.
I do want to know. Can each of you take a moment to like tell us what about your life or your circumstances, both on and off stage, has changed in the years since we filmed?
Oh yeah, you asked this, I think, recently on a text, like how we've changed since the documentary. All right, so I'll start. I think you guys captured a perfect, like, pivotal moment in our careers, especially in Miami. You know, like Miami Comedy, the website was taking off, and I was kind of like reaping the rewards. I met these guys, and we were kind of like being a lot more consistent in terms of turnouts, but not as consistent as we are now, where we're not only in different venues but in different nights of the week. And you know, the website's getting a lot more traffic. People are very receptive to the blog than they were before. Like when I go up on stage, or if I walk around, people would say that they read the newsletter, which is something unheard of for me. And yeah, just to see that kind of growth happening in such an organic way, especially providing an audience for us to like go up and have fun as friends, it has been unreal. And if it's only been a year since you've recorded those episodes up until now, where they're now being released soon, I can already feel that the growth is only going to be exponential from here on out.
And so, how many nights a week were you at then, and how many are you at now?
So at then, I think I was at 3, including Drink House Fire and Ice. However, 2 of those have been the weekly ones because, you know, some closures or the productions aren't as consistent. And now I'm currently at 6 venues, 4 about to be weekly. And then another 2 monthly, and then we'll build those up to become weekly as well. Because the goal is 7 nights a week, all consistent and quality of it. And to bring in comics from other cities. I mean, I work with the Improv now, which is a great feat for me. And our partnership allows me to fly in comics from other cities to kind of blend it with the Miami comedy scene, and hopefully kind of give us a little bit more of a, I guess, an announcement that we're growing. We've got something here, and it also allows the audiences to see how comedy styles are different elsewhere.
Right. What about you, Seabass? What's changed in the last year?
I think as far as like comedy goes, I think like I've definitely gotten stronger, written material, and like crowd work, which I think was always like one of the tougher things for me that I had. Like Manny and I had a discussion about this a while ago at Craftsman, where he was like, you're trying to feed the audience jokes when they're not trying to listen to jokes, you know, like you got to be able to recognize that. And I wouldn't say I'm like 100% of the time right, because there'll be times when I get off stage where I'm like, fuck, I should have just jumped into crowd work, or I should have just stayed with my jokes, or whatever the case may be. So I definitely feel like I've got more of a recognition from that as a comedian standing on stage. Also off stage, I've been booked on shows that I had conversations with Rudy about, that I would tell him like, bro, I'm trying to get on this show. Like I want my name on that flyer or whatever. And it's happened. I've been on a couple of shows that I really strive to get there, and thankfully, you know, through networking, through the hard work, whatever, I've been able to get onto those shows. So the material has evolved, the way of thinking has evolved, the stage presence has evolved, and I mean, it's just, I try not to think too much about that, because at the end of the day, like all the comics, like older comics that I listen to or have talked to that have been doing it for over 15 years, they all say like, you know, you're a new comic for like the first 5. And I'm really only at year 1.5, so it's a long way to go. I try not to get caught up in that, and then just try to get better every day. And I definitely feel that I have gotten better in the material, in the way the crowd reacts, in the way the crowd reacts to me after the show, as far as like interaction, getting booked on different shows and stuff like that. So it's just, thankfully, the needle has been moving more and more to the better side of things the more and more I do it, you know. But that's almost just like a logical approach to anything. The more you do it, the more you dedicate time to it, the better you're most likely going to get, and that's just been the recipe over here.
Right. And so, are you on the flyers? Like, are you headlining shows? Are you featuring?
No. Like I'll get like a guest spot. Man, Manny's such a hater. Manny's he's so mad. We should have got Drunk Manny on the podcast. Drunk Manny would have talked about his Netflix special I was about to drop. No, but I mean, I haven't necessarily like, I've gotten like the guest spots or whatever, but I've had chances at a few shows to run, you know, 20-minute sets or like 15-minute sets, where now I can really test out material and see how I feel over there. So I haven't necessarily gotten like the feature sets, but I have gotten way more time at certain venues or recognition and shit like that. So it's
right.
It's,
and
you know,
at your level, that's a big deal, you know, like
yeah.
You get a 20-minute set, like the guy that we made a documentary about and the person you are now aren't the same people, because the guy that we have footage of would really struggle through a 20-minute set. So like,
right.
It's like you had to have grown, you know?
No, well, I also don't want to make it seem like I'm breezing through this 20. Like, it's not that I'm going into it knowing I'm doing 20. It just so happened that they weren't giving me the light. I was still having a good role. I was getting laughs. And they let me go on. And when I was done recording, I looked down at the time, and it said, like, you know, like 20-some odd minutes. And a couple times that happened, and I was like, oh, wow. So, you know, it's hey, fuck you, Manny. If you gave me more than 5 minutes, Manny, you would know. But, yeah, no, it's definitely like I feel more confident in that today than I definitely did before. That's for sure.
You guys are about to break him down to the point that he says, no, nothing has changed.
I'm still living in this efficiency. I just ate a pickle from a jar. I got expired beer in my fridge. Like, nothing was the same.
You're doing great, T-Bass. You're doing great.
You're doing great. Keep eating your pickles.
What about you, Rudy? What's changed in the last year? What do you got going on?
Oh man, I'm a motherfucking superstar. You know what I'm saying? The prices have gone up officially. Manny is lucky he knew me when I wasn't shit. He's the only person who I still perform for free for. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, everybody else can kiss my ass. All right, put some respect on my name. No, man. I'm working a lot though. I mean, for me, it's mainly just a lot of on stage stuff. I mean, off the stage, I'm I'm pretty much like Seabass. I live in the same place. You know, I'm still.
But you're in film school now, though. You weren't when we filmed.
He was about to start.
You weren't in film school yet when we filmed with you.
Yeah. I guess I am in school now. About to finish my first year. I got one more semester before I finish the first year, and then But as far as comedy, I've just gotten a lot better. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that just comes with repetition. Honestly, I mean, I didn't do anything super spectacular. I just get on stage 6-7 nights a week and constantly practice. I mean, I put all my focus into it. You know, I don't have another job outside of comedy in school, so I mean, I pretty much just have laser focus when it comes down to those two, and it just allowed me to just grow, you know, in my craft really. That's
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Rudy has become a comic that he doesn't give a fuck to the point where he's just killing the stages. I will say that investing in Rudy as soon as he landed in Miami was like investing in Google stocks. Like I saw the talent there from the get go, and then it definitely shows. That guy goes up, he brings up the racial tension, and then just dissipates.
So all time high.
No, man, that's really interesting to know. So one, it's instructive because we need to include some information about you guys at the end of the last episode, saying like where you are now and what's going on. But I think we also just are curious, man, like making this, you know, when I first wanted to become a filmmaker, I wanted to work in narrative and create characters that only existed in my mind. Making documentaries about real people invest you in the stories of people to the point where like you just find yourself caring. Like, I don't give a shit about anything until this project is done, but finishing this project. And some of that is, you know, like extended onto, you know, jumping on Facebook and caring about what's going on in the Miami comedy scene, watching what
We're like not invested. We're like all
Super.
biggest fans.
I like anytime Manny goes live with the Miami Comedy Podcast, I watch it. I'm like a fan of the community, so it's
Damn, Manny, you got more viewers this year than you did last year.
Yeah,
Now that
man.
you're watching on this shit.
Yeah, man, I gained a viewer this year. We in.
we made it.
Yeah, man. I'm just curious about what's going on, and I ride for Team Respect the Light, man. I think you guys are great.
We think you guys are great, man. Thanks for everything you did. The Ledge Media. Make sure you go to the Patreon support. We're gonna be we're brainstorming to bring this project out to many cities and different theaters, and doing something very cool with it. So a lot more to come. We'll talk more about it as soon as I get updates. I'll post it on the blog. I'll live stream it, and of course on the main page you can also see the link. I will update it. It will be on the middle of the homepage, so you guys can see any updates on the project. I want to thank you guys not only for what you filmed, but for being on the podcast, and I'll see the people that are listening next Sunday. Goodbye.
Thank you, Manny.